Quill Tree Books and Harper Audio present Rabbit and Juliet by Rebecca Stafford, performed by Taylor Meskimen. For the Angry Ones. Girl meets girl. Group was held every Friday evening in the basement of the Cross of Christ Fellowship. I wasn't Baptist, and group wasn't religious. But when you have the misfortune of growing up in a small town in North Georgia, there aren't a lot of community spaces or mental health professionals. Nobody even talked much about mental health, except to call anyone who stepped out of line crazy. That enlightened attitude is how you get a town where somebody like Sheila Bowers was running a group for people coping with bereavement. I was coping with bereavement, by the way. Sheila was a florist who moonlighted as an expert in empowering people to empower themselves and helping the grieving reach personal understanding. Those were the phrases that struck me as particularly ridiculous on the group's Xeroxed pamphlet. The group was called Caring Hands, and sure enough, there was a drawing of a pair of hands holding a heart on the cover. Whoever drew the hands did not have a firm understanding of anatomy or metaphor. Sending me to group was one of the last parenting decisions my father made before he devoted himself entirely to testing the endurance of the human liver. Group was dumb, Sheila was dumb, and I didn't think much of my fellow grievers because my capacity for empathy wasn't the highest. After sitting for an hour listening to sad stories, I usually found myself wishing I could be folded up inside a metal chair at the end of the meeting, but I went every Friday night. Sometimes it was enough to see just how truly bad Sheila was at her job. Excuse me, her passion. There was a kind of comfort in group. Not that it really helped me feel better about my mom. It didn't help me process. But having somewhere to go that wasn't school, which I wouldn't have minded burning down, or my house, which I also wouldn't have minded burning down, was close to nice. There was a smell of wood and candles in the sanctuary that I would always catch just before I went down the basement stairs. Like I said, I wasn't religious, but when I glimpsed the sanctuary and the stained glass windows just barely illuminated by the street lamps outside, I wished I was. That night, I'd arrived at group 10 minutes late. This was one of the things I liked to do to keep Sheila faintly irritated at a near constant level. In my experience, when Sheila was unhappy, I felt a tiny bit better. Maybe that's why I went to group, actually. She looked up when I entered and gave me a curt nod and a strained smile. I took an empty seat in the circle of chairs and let her babble wash over me. So, ultimately, we can heal the holes these deaths have left in us by reaching out to others, by making that precious human connection once more, by realizing that the cost of love is the possibility of loss. And it's okay to take that risk, Sheila said. She made these kinds of speeches a lot, probably practiced them in the mirror the night before. There was something a little community theater about her delivery that suggested she'd once tried and failed for the lead in Oklahoma, probably got cast as cow number 3. There were only a few of us that night, but that's how it always was. Sometimes 5, rarely 6. It's not like we were a bustling metropolis with people dropping dead every day. But even in a small town, there are car accidents and lingering illnesses and farming disasters involving baling wire.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?